All right, we're back, and thanks for staying with us. It's Crossfire with Dapo and Ishoma, and we're both here. We will be doing some calls into the show from our guest, who, definitely the traffic out there is really very, disturbing, and they're not here right now. But notwithstanding, the show will have to continue. Myself and Ishoma will try as much as possible to give you a good show, as usual. And so definitely this morning we'll be taking our thoughts on the story making headlines. And then our conversation today borders around the different positions people have taken concerning the activities of the indigenous people of Biafra and a lot of other support elements that they have enjoyed. Federal government has already alleged that Ipob seems to be getting funding from some countries, excuse me, that they have identified. And there is move to ensure that the source of funding for their activities is stopped. Now, information I have it very strongly that France may actually, as alleged, may actually be supporting them. We know that during the Civil War in 1967, there was a very strong allegiance of the people of France, or France as a country, supporting the activities of Ipob. And I read that report, and it became really very clear why France was really supporting the secession plan to have a Biafra nation. And it was really very clear what they were doing. The Secretary General in that time, who happens to be like the Prime Minister, said very clearly in a letter written to the people of Biafra that we're going to support you in exchange for oil. Anyway, expect a lot of information on this show today. We'll try as much as possible to just give you as much as we can to know exactly where this is going. But before we do that, myself and Ishoma will take you through stories making headlines. Today is Trending Thursday, and so we bring those stories one after the other for conversation. Ishoma, let me take your thought on the first story.
Okay, it's as easy as that can go. Literally, for me, yes, the Federal High Court has prescribed the activities of Ipob illegal, and it's what's... I think I'm a little bit at the fix here, because as much as every individual, every group of persons, they have the right to secession, or not to secession, rather, to determine how they want to live in a country, how they want to coexist with others in a nation. I believe that the greatest way to go about it is through the rule of law. And let's see, the Federal High Court has prescribed the activities, has put a ban on their activities. Now, the main issue here is, will they obey the court order? Knowing fully well, it appears, based on information out there in the public domain, based on their speeches, they do not believe in Nigeria, they do not believe in anything Nigerian. So would they honor the pronouncement of the Federal High Court? And would they continue such activities? And if they continue in such activities, what next? What will follow? Military action, negotiation, what next?
All right, Ishoma, as a matter of fact, I seem to slightly differ. I mean, for the benefit of those people who are watching us right now, yeah, and who are listening to us, I seem to be on the side of Biafra. And Ipob activities. And my support, I can substantiate it very adequately without any, fear of contradiction, or not really very sure of why I am saying what I am saying. Over the time, it has become really very obvious that the Nigerian government, requires a level of force to listen to people's agitation. I have not... I am not support in a group of people or a particular geopolitical zone in this country trying to get the attention of government to support an activity or an agenda. Because the decision to have a Biafra state or a Biafra nation is just, it's just an agenda. And I think to a very large extent, a people, when I say a people, I simply mean a people have a right to actually agitate. A people have a right to actually ask government why some certain things are not probably done. If you throw a question at me, Ishoma, today, is the southeast part of Nigeria marginalized? I possibly will say yes, and I can defend or substantiate my reason. If you say, is there any kind of negative energy from the central government towards the southeastern part of Nigeria, I possibly will say yes also, and I can substantiate my position. Now, the point is, I may not fully be in support of what Nnamdi Kanu led IPOB and so many other support elements, you know, that have been agitating in the southeast. I may not be able to, you know, convincingly, let me say, I use the word convincingly in the sense that you may have your reasons to counter whatever I'm saying. But the truth is just that when there was a very strong agitation in the southeast of Nigeria, I remember the late Yar'Adua. All they did was to engage and ask, what are you asking for? What is your agitation all about? And today we have what we call amnesty. They submitted their guns and government eventually came to a position and said, we know that these things belong to you and what you're asking for is legitimate and this is the way we're going to go about it. That was one. Two, when we had all the problems, I mean, it was just a mere small agitation that started Boko Haram that has become into a monster today that government is not even finding, you know, a possible solution. Technically, we said we have conquered and we have, you know, overcame the terror that Boko Haram is unleashing on Nigerians. Whether one Hausa person is killed or one Igbo person is killed or one Yoruba man died, we do not need to take a very long time, you know, before we engage. Boko Haram was not particularly engaged. The only time they were engaged was when former President Olusegun Obasanjo went to the north and put a face to Boko Haram. And the person that he actually spoke with a few weeks down the line was killed by the Jonathan-led administration. And so, to a very large extent, I think the federal government has been so insensitive to people's agitation. Even former President Olusegun Obasanjo a few days ago said, engage Nnamdi Kanu, just find out what this guy is asking for. Okay. And listen, you know, to whatever they are agitating for. Okay, it is clear that they possibly are saying, we want to pull out, we want to go our ways, give us Biafra, and we'll be good to go, and all of that. But as federal government engaged, that's the question I'm throwing to you.
Without having to put into doubt everything you have said. Yeah. Now, the first thing you started by talking about marginalization. Is there any part of the country, is there any region in Nigeria, or any ethnic group in Nigeria that has not been marginalized? Nigeria is made up of over 250 ethnic groups. But as it stands, we have, three major ethnic groups. We have three major ethnic groups in the country, which is a big disservice to the other ethnic groups. How many persons or how many tribes? I am from the Ukwani region in Delta State. The Ukwani people have not produced a governor in Delta State, not to talk of a chief of army staff, not to talk of any federal position, or not to talk of the presidency. And so also it applies to many other ethnic groups. But we have not seen other ethnic groups clamor as much, talk about marginalization half as much as coming from the southeast. Yet they have had top positions in the Nigerian government from 1960 till date. You have history, and history proves that right. Now, that is on one end. On the other end, you talked about a whole lot of things that the federal government, they have not done as much, and you try comparing it with Boko Haram. Yes, Boko Haram started as, you know, with agitations. Now, the issue is, you talked about how, I recall on this show, some years back when the Boko Haram activities was very hot, you talked against the federal government having to dialogue with criminals. You criticized and condemned the activities of Boko Haram, having to unleash terror on innocent Nigerians, and you criticized the federal government for having to dialogue with them. It's surprising how now you're saying the federal government should dialogue with Nnamdi Kanu, but that's on the other hand. Now, as regards issues for self-determination, there are so many internationally recognized means which a people can proceed. You do not go against the rule of law. You do not breach peace. You do not push hate speech and say that is your fundamental right to freedom of speech and that you're pushing for secession or self-determination. There are so many internationally recognized ways. You either, if the people of Biafra or IPOB as it were, since we do not have it legally recognized as that entity called Biafra, if believers in the movement of IPOB feel agitated then they should against the activities of the federal government. Then why don't they petition the International Criminal Court? Why don't they write a petition to the United Nations and wait for a response? Wait for the international community to back them up. And I can bet you, these two organs of government, these two international organs, will still refer them to what? A referendum. Now, in the time being, the position of a referendum is silent in the Nigerian constitution. So what I expected are the intellectuals from the southeastern region who have legal representatives in the legislative arm of government. What should they have done? They should have pushed and nudged their representatives to say, look, we need a constitutional amendment. We need the position of a referendum in the constitution. You represent us. We are giving you this mandate. When you get back to the floor of the House, you must push for a referendum. Okay. Sorry, you must not only push, we will support you, and if necessary, speak or lobby with your brothers and representatives from the Southwest and other geopolitical zones. So when it comes to voting, restructuring, and referendum will be pushed for. We have not seen all of that. And if you look clearly, the legislative have been very silent on this. I'm not talking about the Senate president here, but I'm talking about all the members of the legislative from the Southeast. Why have they been silent? Okay. That is on one angle. On the other angle also is the sincerity of Ipob. Now, Ipob, they have been talking, saying no, they need a referendum for them to determine, for them to vote, to decide. Now, the question out here to all those who believe in Ipob is, so far has the members of Ipob or the leadership of Ipob carried out a referendum or a consensus amongst those territories which they have said will belong to Biafra? Because at the end of the day, if you're accusing the federal government of not carrying out a referendum, you on your own part, you must be seen to be clean. So far, they have not carried out a referendum or a consensus of any sort asking, do you want to be part of Biafra or Nigeria? So on their own, they are forcing people to become part of an entity which they have created, which if you carry out a vote truly, many persons from the Southeast would rather stay with Nigeria and push their way out to greatness rather than breaking out. All right. On the other hand...
No, I've given you enough time.
No. On the other hand, one of the guidelines also for a sovereign state or nation is you must have a clearly defined territory. Now, the question out there also is, does Biafra as an entity have a clearly defined territory to say, this is the map of Biafra as it were? If they were to be granted sovereignty, do they have a clearly defined territory? As it stands, no. Okay. So you see, on all fronts, they have missed out on a lot of things. Okay. And they have thrown the baby and the bathwater. Rather than push for whatever it is they believe in through the rule of law, through peace and dialogue, what have they done? Okay. They have breached all of that.
Okay, fantastic. I listen to you, and I will appreciate if you listen to me. Now, you make awesome points that I don't have a problem with if the government were to be sensitive enough. When Boko Haram activity started in the North, Ishoma, there was no face to it. There was no individual who stood out to say, this is what we're agitating for, this is what we're talking about. The then government, led by President Goodluck, former President Goodluck Jonathan, were busy about so many other things until Boko Haram, that started just like a little agitation, they came up with a 5-point agenda. So the government, no, you will ask your question. Okay. Let me just make my point. And at that point in time, they were supposed to try and put a face to Boko Haram. Come, let us sit down. What you're asking for, is it possible or not? But they didn't do that. They allowed them grow until they grow, and then eventually they became a monster that we are dealing with today. And eventually, the southeastern part, the south central, everywhere in the southern part of Nigeria became really totally war-ravaged until the activities became uncontrollable and they were declared eventually as terrorists. Unlike Nnamdi Kanu, it was an individual who came out strong with an agenda. His agenda is not twice, it's not two, it's not three. It's just simply saying that we want a secession, we want to pull out, we want to go our way. Now, having said that, you have an individual that you are dealing with. According to the rule of law, you would have expected that the Buhari-led administration will follow the rule of law. You arrested him, you kept him in custody for almost 2 years until international organization begins to wade into the matter. Charge him to court if you have a case against him, which they never did, and you kept somebody. According to the law of Nigeria, nobody should be in custody for more than 24 hours, after which you must charge the person to court. But you held him down for 2 years with no reason, no good reason. You said he committed treason. If you have evidence, take him to court, sue him to court, charge him, jail him if it is possible. But you didn't do that. 2 years and running, you kept him in custody. Now he's out. You granted him bail. And now, when even after you granted him bail with bail conditions, if you think he's gone out of his way to do so many things, you know, outside the bail condition, all I would have expected is to invite him. I really do not see any reason why we should have a military. We're talking about a people who died, I mean, who lost so many souls during the last civil war between 1967, between 1967 and 1969. And believe you me, the southeast of Nigeria suffered most during the Civil War. And you will agree with me that if we go the way we are going right now, you are endangering a people again. You are putting the Igbo people in a very tight corner again. Now, you came up with Operation Crocodile Smile in the South. When Crocodile Smile, it simply means they are seeing what the meat is ahead of them, but they are staying away and calculating to catch them. That simply means you are warning them. If you come with war, we will fight war. If you come with peace, we will embrace peace. But when you say python dance, pythons do not dance until they must have swallowed something. In the process of trying to process whatever they have swallowed, that is the only time python dance. It simply means the fellowship, I mean, extended towards the east on this matter is for war, because there have been confirmed allegations that they have soldiers and that they are harmed. Nnamdi Kanu came out strong. He said, we are not harmed. We may have been constituting and gathering ourselves to enforce and educate ourselves and enlighten ourselves about what we are agitating for, but we are not for war. We are for peace. Engage us. Let us talk one to another. The reasonable people in Nigeria have already said, how come federal government is not engaging in Nnamdi Kanu? It's just an individual. Can't they sit him down and ask, excuse me, are you asking for restructure? If we restructure, will you be okay? Instead of fighting for secession? Nobody is asking. Okay. Nobody is asking this question. Let me land on this point. Okay. Now, no dialogue has been used as a means of looking or settling or solving any problem of the agitation of Ipob. Now, another thing that I realize is that during the activities in the South, there have been several engagements to ensure we have peace in the South. Today, relatively, there is peace in the South. In the northern part of Nigeria, because there had never been a proper means of dialoguing, they have endangered. Do you know how many lives have been lost? People are still dying even in the IDP camp up till today. And that is to tell you that we have a major problem. Now, you made mention, and I'm going to rest on this point, you made mention of the fact that the intellectuals, the educated ones that are from the Southeast in the legislative arm of government are expected to sit down and come out with an holistic plan or probably push for a referendum. What happened? When they eventually came up with the rebuilding of the southeast of Nigeria, the bill was thrown out.
Why was it thrown out?
You answer the question. No. Why was it thrown out?
No. You cannot.
Because they felt that because
the North was ravaged by terrorism.
Exactly.
And has the Southeast been ravaged by that?
What of erosion?
So now let me.
What of erosion?
Hold on.
What of kidnappings?
Okay, but recall.
What of killings?
But therefore recall.
Incessant killings.
But therefore, if you recall, also the Southwest has also been faced with that, and so are the many other regions, including the Middle Belt.
There is no region in Shoma that have been so characterized with kidnappings and the likes of it. Yeah.
Should you not amass so much money in building each region, or you push for restructuring and then let every region develop and be built?
Dialogue would have.
No,
federal government didn't do that.
That is what intellectuals.
The government did not do that.
That is what intellectuals.
Hold on.
That is what intellectuals in the legislative arm of government and those who want the progress of Nigeria will push for. But anyway, then let me respond to everything you have said. Now, just to make this clear, we're not all here to score points, but we're all here to reflect the arguments and ideologies of Nigerians. So, you talked about Nnamdi Kanu and nobody having to sit him down and ask him if he believes in restructuring and the rest of this. If you recall, in June 2017, Nnamdi Kanu came out and said he is against restructuring. That is to address the point you said. Okay. And also, prior to 2015, Nnamdi Kanu has always pushed believed in Nigeria. He always spoke about, oh, Nigeria must be united, Nigeria must grow. What changed all of a sudden now? I'm just asking this question. Could it be that the Minister for Information, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, was right when he said, aggrieved members of the political class are the ones financing
why are you
IPOB?
politicizing this?
I am asking you.
Don't bring politics into this.
Can you please listen?
Okay.
I said, could it be that the Minister for Information was right? I'm asking a question. That's not my opinion. Okay. So it's left for Nigerians to decide, and they ask him if let him provide those information, like, Governor Ayefayoshe has asked him to name them, those persons. Let us see if he names them. Now, you also talked about other issues. Yes, the court or the government, the federal government, was wrong on all fronts to have held Nnamdi Kanu in prison after the competent court of law said, release him. Yes, they were wrong to have held, just the same way, just as you're blaming the federal government for holding on to Nnamdi Kanu. It's the same way the federal government is being blamed for holding on to Dasuki. But these are issues on two fronts. And then you talked also of, is Nnamdi Kanu number one? This is a major question. Is Nnamdi Kanu patriotic enough? Is he grounded in the history? No, hold on.
Define patriotism.
Hold on, please.
Define patriotism.
I did not interrupt you.
Okay.
Is Nnamdi Kanu, as an individual, branded in the history of Nigeria and the happenings during the Nigerian Civil War to know how the Civil War affected his people? If he is sufficiently grounded in the history of Nigeria, do you think he will still toe the path he is taking, knowing fully well the lives and businesses of his people will be in jeopardy? If you recall, after the then leader of the Biafra race, talking about Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, after he left the country on exile, he made videos, and these are videos and information which are out there, which I hope Nigerians can watch. And he said he wished he did not embark on that path for the peace and for those lives of his race not to be lost. He wished he had told the path of peace and dialogue. That is why I'm asking: is Nnamdi Kanu grounded logically?
Fantastic.
And then there is also one major issue here. Does the fact that the federal government is wrong, and the fact that you talked also about how Nnamdi Kanu said no, they're not going to fight, they're going to agitate. Recall the Biafra National Guard, which he constituted, reportedly declared that they will fight the Nigerian army to avoid the extinction of the indigenous people of Biafra. My question is, how would they fight? Through praise and worship, or through arms or physical confrontation? That's the question which you should answer.
Okay, because we're going to go on a short break. Moses was a special child. When he was given back to, all male children in Egypt were not to leave. He was eventually packaged in a basket and was put on the water. And now Pharaoh's daughter found him. He grew up. He was raised. He grew up. He was raised. No, hold on. You are trying to tell you not to be sentimental.
Are you trying to tell me now?
I didn't interject you now. I did not interject you. No, why? Now, eventually, when he rose up, he realized that his people have been marginalized. He realized that his people have been suffering. And eventually God raised a deliverer in Moses, even for the children of Israel.
Now, in this case, has the federal government said it will destroy all people from the south? Is no. So that totally vitiates whatever it is you're saying.
Anyway, we'll go on a short break now. When we come back, this show is taking another dimension. We'll be right back after now. Don't go nowhere. All right, thanks for staying with us. It's still Crossfire with Dapo and Ishoma. We have a gentleman who joined us in the course of the show, and we are really very grateful, because the traffic is really mad on Third Mainland Bridge. So if you are there, just take your time. Hopefully you get to your destination in one piece. Anyway, he's here in one piece. He's no other person. He's a change ambassador. He is a political analyst. He's a social commentator. And every time we have hot issues like this, we always want them to come to our platform. Let's meet Mr. Kayode Salako. Good to have you.
Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, good to be here.
Thank you.
Myself and Ishoma have been having a debate.
Okay.
And it's been quite hot, very, very hot.
Whether they are still a Nigerian or a Biafran.
It doesn't, interestingly and sadly, I'm a Yoruba man. So speaking in favor of this, I'm a Yoruba man.
Yoruba Biafran. Yoruba Biafran.
That's what did you say, sadly?
Okay. Anyway, we have another guest who is joining us on the phone, and we're going to be taking his thoughts, and then we'll come back into the studio while he's still holding on. Now, I'm just going to talk to him, and then we'll take his thoughts. Now, there is an agitation about, on and very hot on the Kanu Nnamdi-led, indigenous people of Biafra. And this is all about a secession plan. This is all about an agenda. We want to go. And we want to go, and this is our plan. And a lot of things has really happened. Hello, Barrister Ayola. Are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Good morning.
All right, good morning, and good to have you stand by with us. I'm trying to quickly build up so that you can respond. Now, my question is it wrong for the Nnamdi-led IPOB to ask for what they're asking for? Number two, do you think federal government has a right and the approach that they have taken to curb, a group of agitators who are peaceful about what they are doing? The few times we have had people killed have been when the Nigerian police or the Nigerian army, have tried to stop their peaceful rally and their gatherings and all of that. Anyway, we quickly would like to take your thoughts. What's your position on the Nnamdi Kanu-led IPOB?
Well, good morning, Dapo. I'm very sorry I couldn't make it to the studio.
It's okay.
Now, on the agitations of Nnamdi Kanu and his IPOB, I must say that the agitations are within the law. They are permissible, or what you say, agitations are the law allows. Now, the mere fact that the law allows it does not mean they are going to have they are going to be successful with the agitation. This democracy, people can come out to say whatever they like, provided whatever they are saying is allowed within the ambit of the law. The court yesterday, I think, gave a ruling proscribing IPOB as a terrorist organization. With due respect to the court, that pronouncement may not be very, very sound on the basis that IPOB is not even a juristic entity. How do you sue an entity that is not known to law? IPOB is not registered with any government, whether with CSC or with whoever. So you sue a party to court that is not known to law. How do you rationalize that? Secondly, we are making one mistake by trying to compare IPOB with Boko Haram. They are not the same. Boko Haram from the one set out to kill people. IPOB has never killed anybody. Okay? I would expect our government to treat IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, within our laws. And I will quickly give you two laws that they can use in addressing Kanu's issue without having to declare them as terrorists.
Please go ahead.
One, if you look at Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps Act, that law arrests people who are involved in civil disobedience or civil disturbance, particularly under Section 29. You will find that they can arrest them and charge them with civil disturbance. When you charge them with civil disturbance, the government will be doing what is allowed under the law. Secondly is that under our law, under the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, Section 165 or thereabout makes provision for the Attorney General to approach the court to say XYZ bail should be revoked or the bail should be given a reconsideration. These things will not give IPOB any popularity because there is a bail condition that IPOB guy was given. If it's violating it, all you have to do is to do what? You revoke the bail and you issue a bench warrant. Thirdly, we cannot say that IPOB is agitating for the whole of the Igbo race. I will accept that because they have their governors up to the local government level. Nobody has overwhelmed them. IPOB has not gone there to say, local government, you are not going to work because we are IPOB. They haven't done that. Okay? So it is very difficult for you to say they are a terrorist organization because they have not been able to overwhelm anybody. I'm not saying that they are not involved in civil disturbance. I don't want to call them a nuisance. They are not a nuisance. They have a right to do whatever they are doing. But we should allow our law to address them. If they are in civil disturbance, who addresses civil disturbance? The police. Instead of you bringing the army to come and do a fighting dance and give them a free advertisement on national media, you have allowed the police to arrest them. There's a law in Nigeria regulating the use and the wearing of uniforms. Okay? Those people wearing the supposed Biafra uniforms, they can be arrested.
All right, Barrister Ayola.
Uniforms without any, permit. It's that simple. Now what we have done is that we have helped Nnamdi Kanu to become more popular because we are not following the law. Simple.
All right, please hold on your thoughts. Stay on the line. We have Mr. Kade Sarako in the studio, and he listened to you, and we just want to take his thought on this matter.
Barrister Julius Ayola has spoken like a legal practitioner, a lawyer.
And for your information, I'm on his side.
You are on his side. Yeah, I know. I've just called you a Yoruba Biafran agitator, a while ago. Well, this is my own problem with this Kanu's agitation thing. Is it possible for a man to be asking for his own country when the race is representing, he is supposed to be representing, he is not identifying with him? That is what my own problem is.
Hold on. So, let him make his point.
In all of this, and with the way Kanu and his group of people, not the Igbo as a race, has carried on so far, it suggests to me that this is all about Kanu and a group of Igbo people constituting themselves as a subject of harassment to the federal government.
So when you are harassing somebody, you bring in the army.
Now,
hold on.
The army didn't come in all the while until Kanu started forming his own army.
Which army? Which army is it forming?
Oh, it's all over the social media.
The Biafra National Guard.
Yeah, it's all over the social media. Does he have the right to be forming his own army? That is insurrection.
Is it possible to form an army?
That is insurrection.
An unarmed army.
And it's a serious issue.
It's not true. He's forming an army. And the
No.
In all the southeast, they are sitting and they are going about their legitimate business. How do you mean?
You see, my darling brother, let me talk. Let me talk. When you were talking, I kept quiet.
It's not forming any army. Please don't say all those things.
Okay, I need you to hold on, please.
That does not mean that Kanu cannot be arrested, but don't say it's forming an army.
Barrister Ayola, please, I need you to allow him make his point and then you can respond. He listened to you when you were talking.
I know that lawyers will always call black, white, red, blue. He's a lawyer.
Okay.
So, but unfortunately, this is not a law court.
Okay.
Because I'm not a lawyer. But as a layman, a prominent person in the civil rights society in Nigeria, I have studied the way Kanu has carried on so far. And in my own conclusion, it is all, this agitation is all about Kanu alone. If you want a country, it mustn't be about Kanu and a group of people. It must be about the collective agenda of the Igbo race.
Okay.
All along, what I would have expected is that Kanu could be used as a pivot, a lead. But as he's leading, let all the socio-cultural groups in Igbo land, all the elements, of social order in Igbo land and engineering, let them also be speaking in
favor of his
in support of what he's doing.
Okay. And that's not what we are.
Instead of that, at the time they kept quiet. When they kept quiet, it now made Kanu to see himself beyond what he was supposed to be. It became a period that Kanu was already becoming like the king of the Igbo race. He started assuming so much. He became a lord unto himself. He became an authority. He now started issuing statements.
Please hold on.
He started issuing statements. There will be no election in Anambra State. I have formed my own army. We are ready to go to war with the Nigerian military. Nigeria is a zoo. I am also a monkey in that zoo. He started issuing treacherous statement that could lead to war. What made the youth in the north to respond to the way they responded by issuing a notice to quit to the Igbos in the north? It is because of the way Kanu has been carried on. If Kanu has gone through the normal process of law in support by his race.
Did federal government go, using the law, following the law, haven't arrested him and kept him incarcerated for 2 years?
Yes, he was arrested for a purpose.
Okay.
He wasn't arrested because he was agitating for Biafra. No. He was arrested because of the fact that he became a threat.
I don't understand.
Kanu became a threat
But aren't
to
there
the unity
legal
and
ways,
survival of Nigeria.
Are there not legal ways that the federal government could have gone about it without making him now an overlord?
He was taken to court.
Before he was taken to court.
Yes, did you see Buhari? It was somebody was arrested. The federal government had an issue with him on criminality. He was handed over to the judicial system.
And countless times.
The judicial system gave him a bail. Allowed him to go on bail. Did Buhari stop that? Did the federal government stop it? He went on bail. And his guarantors signed
by law. Was it? Could you have kept him by law?
By what?
By law for the number of months.
In
that he was
any democratic system, the judiciary governs. The judicial system governs by its own discretion. Do we like it? If you kill someone today and you are taken to court, and the judicial system says you should be set free, you'll be free. In democracy, what governs any democratic system is the rule of law. And that rule of law is with the judicial system.
Okay.
The judicial system granted him bail. And he signed, he agreed to certain conditions under that bail arrangement. Okay. The moment he came out, he started flouting those conditions. He started making his certain statement. He now became white. Kanu became a white animal. He was very white. He was now assuming so much himself. What I would have expected is this.
Okay.
The law is made for man, and man is not made for the law. There is no absolute right. There is no absolute agitation. There is no absolute freedom. Even Barrister Julius Ayola, if he offends the law as a lawyer, the law can send him to jail. He knows. Nobody is above the law. Kanu has carried on as if he is another president of Nigeria de facto under the Biafran camouflage. He has been operating as if he had become the president of Biafra already.
Operating what, please?
There are pictures on social media.
Yeah.
There are pictures.
Okay.
There are statements. There are evidences. And what is the primary function of any government? To secure life and properties of the citizenry.
The Ipob people, as the police cried that they have been overwhelmed by the activities of Ipob.
Now,
police are supposed to be the
any issue that involves insurrection.
What is insurrection?
The threat to the survival of a country is the job of the military. Let me tell you this. When we talk about federal government, are we talking about Buhari alone? The most mentally vibrant human beings, professionals in this country today, they are under the employment of the federal government. They have the best technocrats, lawyers. Maybe if Julius Ayola were to be a lawyer under the federal government, he wouldn't have been talking like this.
I will never advise the government.
We have lawyers.
Our country, please.
Listen, please. We have lawyers. Brilliant politicians, brilliant lawyers. We have them with the federal government. They look at issues before they respond.
Okay, honorable. Let's listen. Okay, Barrister Ayola.
Is it Kanu's Biafra or the Igbo Biafra race?
All right, it's okay.
That is the question.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Let him answer this question. Barrister Ayola, now you have your turn to talk. Hello, are you there?
I'm with you. What we are saying, I think Mr. Kayode is not getting the narrative. Okay? Only an unreasonable Nigerian will support Kanu. All right?
But you are supporting him.
No, listen to his position.
Hold on. Only an unreasonable Nigerian would support Kanu. Kanu has even labeled my race a terrible race. I'm a Yoruba man. But I must be able to, know when somebody is speaking as a right and when he's speaking based on his views, no matter how myopic or biased. The narrative is simple. We should follow the law in dealing with people who are suspicious. Otherwise, you are going to make criminals become martyrs in this country.
Exactly.
If you don't deal with Kanu's issue with a lot of wisdom, you are going to end. Let me tell you something. When Mohammed Yusuf was killed, the Boko Haram leader, when he was killed, what happened? Don't you see Boko Haram today? In Borno State.
Who killed him? Is it not the Nigerian police?
Seven local governments in Borno State. As you speak now, in some local governments in Borno State, they draw food from the air. Boko Haram said they want to feed that part of Nigeria to themselves. They came with ammunition and they have killed people, and we have seen them. Ipob has not killed anybody. I am not justifying the way Kanu is going about.
But they have been arresting people.
I don't care less.
They have been maiming and arresting.
The Nigerian police.
Go to the southeast and see people operate.
But government has been doing same. Government has been doing same.
How?
Bado killed over 100 people. The Nigerian police went there.
You don't compare Bado with Kanu's agenda. They are two different things. You don't compare Kanu's agenda with Bado.
They are all insurrection.
No.
They are all insurrections.
The Bado people are not issuing statements.
Any civil disturbance in Nigeria.
Please round off in 30 seconds.
You can arrest Kanu and have him dealt with according to law.
Okay,
when you proscribe Ipob, what you have done is that you are killing the messenger. Nigeria should follow the message and not the messenger. Kanu is the messenger. The message is preaching. It's what we are supposed to address, and we should address it within the ambit of the law.
All right,
thank you very much.
Kanu any popularity by prescribing.
Kanu is already popular.
All right, thank you, Barrister Julius. Let's take a last word from you. We have to go.
There is no absolute right.
Okay.
Kanu does not have the absolute right to continue to harass Nigerians.
Okay.
The IPOB members in the southeast, they have arrogated so much power and authority to themselves to the extent that I even heard they were already collecting taxes from southeast people.
Anyway, one shot
on behalf of Biafra. Now, if
we need to go.
When it was not necessary for military to come in, they didn't come in.
Okay.
It is when it was becoming a case of insurrection that they came in. They didn't go there to go and kill Kanu. They wanted to go and capture him and hand him over to the judicial system.
Okay.
The way the military captured Mohammed Yusuf of Boko Haram and handed him over to the law.
To enjoy more of these our Ogbonge videos when you just watch, press this button to subscribe on top of our YouTube page. You go love am.